Well, if you're not going to play at Georgia, you may as well play at Georgia Tech. Dominic Blaylock going to the Flats in Atlanta. Listen, two injuries sidetracked his career. A very good player from Walton. Scored against the Jackets in 2019.
19
Yeah, scored against Auburn, Florida, and
in
Tech.
Florida.
Uh, all those games. I really think that Brent Key has done a good job of picking up the pieces at Tech and pointing the thing in the right damn direction because it was just smoldering for a long time. Dominique Blaylock helps him on that front. It's gonna have to be weird for him though to go to Atlanta and play for the Jackets.
100%. Now, I know his family's kind of happy about it. He can be closer to them down there, but this
Right.
guy is still one of the best players I saw, the best wide receivers that I've covered in high school. I saw him take over a playoff game against Central Gwinnett as a freshman. They had no answer for him. There's a reason he was a high four-star prospect, top 50 player in the country, and we saw glimpses of that his freshman year in 2019. Not only did he play, but like you said, he scored touchdowns against big rivals in his freshman year. Great ball skills, can get open, can run a route, create separation. There's a lot that he did well. And like you said, I think he might have been a 3 and out, 4 and out type of guy on an NFL roster right now if he did not get hurt. And it's really too bad because that kid loved Georgia. He was not a showboating type of guy, which, I mean, you see a lot of that from receivers. They're not getting the ball and they're not getting opportunities to make plays. It can get ugly and they can kind of have it, get a temper. I mean, they've got egos. They want the ball. They want to make plays. Don Blaylock was not that guy. He went about his business, did his job, worked hard, competed. And unfortunately, those injuries got to him. And, he made a big catch early in the Ohio State game on a 3rd and long that
Yeah,
kept the
yeah.
drive alive. And Georgia ended up kicking a field goal. So he did, make a play or two here last season, but he was not going to play a significant amount next year with Lad McConkey and Dominic Lovett and plenty of other playmaking receivers on the roster. Ra Thomas, Marcus Rosemy, Jack Saint. Um, they've got guys there, receivers. So he knew, and I think he graduated, right? He's going to Tech for another type of
I
degree.
don't know. I don't know
Um,
the answer to that. He might have.
but the kid loves Georgia when he's at Tech. He's always got a place for Georgia in his heart. His family does too. But just a great kid, and I hope he does well with everything. I've been a Don Blaylock guy, as you know, for a long, long time, and I knew he was going to be a very good player at Georgia. And when he was healthy, he was a really good player at Georgia. So I'm happy for him. He's one of the few Georgia Tech kids that I got to know through the recruitment process, know his family a little bit. So I'll be pulling for him over there. Now, I'm not sure how much of an impact he's going to make. I think, if he's healthy, he's clearly one of the better players on their offense. But, I'm happy for him that he's got another opportunity to make some plays, even though it's in Atlanta. I'm pulling for him, Dean.
So we knew Dominique was leaving, but when you look at this returning group, McConkey, Smith, Rosemary Jack Saint, Bell, Thomas, Lovett, it's a lot of guys. Do you think it's the deepest though that they've had in a while, or what's your sort of take on this? There's no George Pickens, there's no AJ Green, there's no Terrence Edwards. I mean, shit, Terrence Edwards had 1,000 yard season, man. I mean, they don't have that. Do they have someone who can just make one move and go, and they're gone?
They have Brock Bowers, but at receiver,
Right.
maybe it's Dominic Love. This might be the deepest
Yes.
pass catchers they have. But at receiver, man, I 02 they had Terrence, Fred Gibson,
Well, 12.
Reggie Brown on that team was
Yes, he
or
was.
later, but Sean Bailey came later after that. But in those early 2000s, I thought Michael Johnson was on that 02 team. Auburn
Hmm.
certainly remembers him. Uh, they had a lot of guys, and like you said, in 12, Mohamed Massaquoi, a few
Terrence.
guys there, Terrence. Yeah, Tavares was he
I
later? I mean,
said
all
Terrence. What
these
am I
guys kind of
saying
coming.
Terrence for? I cannot believe I called Tavares King Terrence. You got Terrence, Michael Bennett. You had Chris Conley. You had Marlon Brown. You had. I mean, it was a pretty good bunch, frankly.
Yeah,
But the thing about it is too. I just did a graphic on Brock Bowers. We got a story on Monday, a premium story on Monday about Brock Bowers and some of his plays and stuff that Nick Saban had to say about him. um, over on the site. Brock Bowers had the fifth best receiving season in Georgia history in 2022, and he didn't even have 1,000 yards. So Terrence, I think Terrence's record will probably be safe for a very long time. Mainly, Matt, because there's no one person that you're throwing it to anymore. Football has evolved so much that multiple people are getting the ball. It's a different sport, and we talk about Herschel Walker and Todd Gurley. It's not a different sport than when Terrence was playing, but it's not the same as it was exactly back then either. I mean, it's much more 7-on-7 than it was even when Terrence was playing.
Yeah, I mean, when's the last time a team won a championship with one receiver, right? You got to have multiple receivers. You got to have different guys. You got to have multiple running backs. And when you're beating teams by 20, 30 points and you're still in the third quarter, yeah, you got to take some of those guys out, get some of those reserves in, those backups. And I'm with you. If it's not Brock Bowers this upcoming year, and I don't think he'll get to that 1,000-yard mark just because Ladd McConkey needs the football. Dominic
Yeah,
Lovett needs the football. Kendall Milton, Dejan
it,
Edwards, you
it's
got to get them touches too. There's too many guys out there for one to hit that 1,000-yard mark. Although he is incredibly talented and could do it in if he played for the Dogs another season. Like, Malcolm Mitchell was a guy on one of those other teams too. I
in
mean,
12. Yeah, in 12.
yeah.
In 12.
Um,
I mean, you're
but
asking Brock. Go ahead.
no. Go ahead. I finished
But
my
you're
thought there.
asking Brock to go 83 yards a game to get to 1,012 games. That's not asking too much at all, but he's not going to be playing. He's not going to have 100 yards in the first two games unless they're on one play. I mean, Brock's not going to be
Yeah.
out there catching 8 balls against Tennessee Martin, and I can't remember the second game. Make sure you're picking up double dogs, and here's the reason why. You can get our newsletter. It's down below. If you sign up for our newsletter, you have the ability to win double dogs. I'm giving 5 away free on Monday, but you have to have signed up for our newsletter between May 1st and May 15th. If you haven't done that, you're not going to get the winning double dogs. These are free 5. I'm giving them away. So get on that now. You're running out of time. I think for Brock, when you look at Dominic Blaylock's gone. He's a guy that could have given you, I don't know how many catches for 400 yards for a season. That's production, man. I mean, now you got Lovett, who looks a lot like Kenny McIntosh. Um, I don't think the running backs are going to enter into this thing the way that Kenny McIntosh did. I mean, Kenny, I think went for 500. You go ahead and talk. I'm going to find what Kenny did. It was hundreds of yards receiving. I mean, guy was a good
I
player.
think he had
That's
I think he had 40 plus catches.
Yeah. I
I mean, we
mean,
talked about could he replace James Cook, and he did as well as he could. I don't think there's a back on the roster who's going to catch as many passes as Kenny did last year. So
no.
it will be a different offense, obviously a different coordinator. So we'll see how much Mike, and I know Mike Bobo loves Brock Bowers. It'll be interesting to see how much involved he's going to get. I know he likes Ladd McConkey and what he brings to the table too. Both of those guys are vertical threats, but we've seen both make big plays in the screen game as well. They can do so many different things for you. And again, when Ra Thomas comes in and he's ready to go, he's an option that you want to, give opportunities to down the field. Dom Lovett came for a reason. I mean, he's not going to catch nearly as many passes as he did at Missouri, but
That's okay,
he's
though.
going to make an impact. That is okay. Marcus Rosemy-Jack saying good things
Yeah.
happen when
Yeah.
he gets the football. That pass he brought in against Tennessee under the goalpost was phenomenal. I mean, the guy can catch the football. We've seen him make some tough acrobatic catches. He deserves more opportunities to show what he can do, and he needs those catches, right? Yeah, I mean, that's an NFL catch. He needs more opportunities to show that he can play at the next level. So, so
Kenny
many
Mac
guys. So many
Kenny
guys.
McIntosh had 500 yards receiving, Matt. I mean, he had
Yeah.
1,300 some odd all-purpose yards, 500 receiving yards, 829. I mean, you're losing. Kenny was a good player. I don't know that I'm going to sit here and call him elite in this world of Georgia football because I'm not comparing him to Brock Bowers, Nick Chubb, Sony Michelle, George Pickens. He's not like those guys, but he's about as close to elite in terms of production. I mean, in terms of diversification of production, the guy could do a lot of different stuff. it's not good. And so you lose Kenny, you lose Blaylock, you lose AD. I mean, you lost some guys who have been productive, particularly Kenny in the passing game for Georgia. And so that's going to be the curious part is how do they replace this? How is Mike going to replace all these guys? And there it could be more screens. There's a lot of different stuff that Mike Bova will incorporate into Georgia's offense in 2023.